There are two major types of entertainment in this world: books and movies. They can exist in their own separate realms or blend together, but let's be honest. Most of us have a favorite, right? A friend I was talking to the other day casually told me he doesn't read much. I found it strange, especially since there have been times when I read a whole book in one sitting. He's not alone, though. A few people in my family will only read a book when they're on vacation and relaxing by the pool. This made me think. There are millions of books in the world, and many of them have been turned into TV shows and movies. As someone who is equally crazy about movies and books, I think it's interesting to see what people are drawn to. When you look at both the book and the movie version, it becomes even more interesting. Which one wins? Likewise, does it matter whether you read the book first or then watch the movie? Take the Harry Potter books as an example. Some TV shows and movies came out after the first book did. Hollywood couldn't help but make the books into movies because they were so interesting. However, just because the book came out first does not mean that everyone read it before seeing the movie. I strongly think that the book should be read first. I'll be honest though, I've found a book after falling in love with the movie version of it. One example is The 100. I didn't know it was based on a book series until after I watched the whole thing in one sitting. There are also books like I Am Number 4 and the Aragon series. Books and movies might offer different experiences, but the age-old question remains. Which one's better? While movies might be the go-to for many, I have to say, I'm team books. Why? Because books are the original source material, unfiltered and uncut, unlike movies, which often have to trim the fat to fit a runtime. A perfect example of this is Stephen King's It, and its movie adaptation It, Chapter 2. Don't get me wrong. The movie is fantastic and serves up some great horror, but if you've read the book, you'll know there are so many rich details and layers that didn't make it to the big screen. Take Stanley Uris's wife, Patty, for example. In the book, she's a fully fleshed-out character with a significant role in Stanley's life. But in the movie, she's barely there, with the focus mostly on Stanley himself. Books and movies both have a way of pulling us in, whether it's by taking us to other places, inspiring our imaginations, teaching us new things, or just helping us relax after a long day. The biggest difference between the two is how they activate our senses. Movies give us clear images, but books let us make up our own images and understand the story in our own way. This is often what makes one form of media better for telling certain stories or more fun to use for enjoyment. People sometimes choose movies over other things to do because they're quick and don't require much work. Just press play and enjoy the ride. If you want to get into the world of a book and understand the story, you need to give it more time, attention, and mental energy. Even so, a lot of people still like reading books because they give them a more unique and in-depth experience. Reading forces us to use our imaginations, feel what the characters are feeling, and find the deeper meanings that are hidden in the words. Something truly amazing happens when you slowly learn more about a story and become connected to it. This doesn't happen with other types of entertainment. Movies, on the other hand, are different. You can see and hear them, and they can show you a character's feelings, body language, and settings in a way that a book just can't. There is meaning in every part of a movie, from the clothes a character wears to the way a scene is shot. It's not enough for filmmakers to point and shoot, they plan each scene with purpose, just like a novelist does with each word. When a director doesn't show a figure in any other color or zooms in for a close-up, they're adding their own ideas to the story about how it should be seen and felt. It's like seeing how someone else sees a story you love come to life. That's why movies based on books are so interesting. As a result, they let us look at the same story from two different perspectives. We get to see how the story develops in a book versus on the big screen and enjoy the unique benefits that each brings to the reading experience. Many times, movies based on books show how much deeper books can go when telling a story. People who love words are more likely to connect with literature because it lets you create your own images in your mind instead of depending on someone else's. A lot of the time, books have a lot more in them than what you see on TV. One common frustration with movie adaptations is that they sometimes cast actors who don't quite match the character descriptions in the book. This can be a big letdown for readers who've built a specific image of the character in their minds. But on the flip side, movies can also enhance the book by providing visual details that might be hard to imagine. Take Rubus Hagrid from the Harry Potter series, for instance. According to an article from Indiana University Bloomington, his description in J.K. Rowling's book is a bit of a challenge to visualize. Almost twice as tall as a normal man, and at least 5 times as wide. Long tangles of bushy black hair and beard hid most of his face. He has hands the size of dustbin lids, and his feet in their leather boots were like baby dolphins. That's a lot to think about. But the movie brings Hagrid to life in a way that makes it easier to picture him. The reader's imagination works with the movie's version. You care about the characters in the movie just as much as you did in the book when the adaptation is done right. As the story plays out in your mind, it starts to blend with what's happening on the screen, adding a whole new level of fun. The way visuals and audio work together in movies is very different from other forms of media. This makes adaptations and movies in general a rich and absorbing experience. For example, music is a big part of setting the mood of a movie, giving us hints about what's to come, or drawing our attention to important parts. Then there are the images. The way an actor looks can show how they feel in a way that words on a page just can't. The tone and mood of an actor's voice can also give a line more depth. Sometimes, reading a line out loud makes it hit harder than writing it down. "I will never be hungry again" is a famous line from Gone with the Wind. It does make you feel something to read that line, but seeing Scarlett say it with all the strength and feeling she has.
"I'll never be hungry again. No, nor any of my food."
In a way that stays with you, it makes the scene come to life. Books may go into more detail about stories, but that doesn't mean movies aren't good. Let's be clear, there's nothing wrong with going to the movies. It's a great way to enjoy a story, even one that started out as a book. Movies are perfect for relaxing, especially when you need a break from life's stresses. Sure, books offer the same escape, but movies often do it with less effort, making it easier to lose yourself in a story without much mental work. So, I'm definitely not saying don't watch movies. That said, the fact that movies require less effort is both a benefit and a limitation. Watching a film is a passive experience. You sit back, and everything is presented to you. The visuals, the characters, the setting. Your imagination doesn't have to work because it's all laid out for you. While that's great for relaxation, it also means you're not flexing your brain as much. On the other hand, books keep you thinking in ways that movies just can't. Reading uses many parts of the brain, from the ability to imagine and transport yourself into a story to the actual act of turning pages and decoding text. It's harder and takes more skill to use language skills when you read than when you watch a movie. If you want to keep your brain active and spark your imagination, books are the best choice. Control is something else to think about. You decide how fast to read a book. You can reread, stop, or move on to the next part whenever you want. You can take a break if something big is about to happen and you're not ready for it. When you watch a movie, on the other hand, those unsettling images hit you right away and can stay with you for a long time after the movie is over. You can choose when, how, or even if you want to take part in certain parts of a book's story. Also, let's not forget how important it is to be able to read. You need to be able to read quickly and deeply. A lot of people have noticed that they can't focus as well on long articles or paragraphs with a lot of words. That's because we don't do it as often, and like any other skill, it can become dull if you don't use it often. But I'm interested in what you think. Which medium do you think is better? Let me know in the comments below.